Hello, Asa. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you well. Thank you. I'm sorry, there was some trouble, but I logged out and tried again, and now it's working.
When did you start writing your book?
Well, I started writing my book in 2017, early 2017, after Donald Trump was installed as a president in Washington, D.C. And I had worried a lot because during 2016, a lot of things happened that concerned knowledge that was bad. We had the Brexit referendum in the Great Britain, where there was a lot of disinformation around that election. And then we had the election of Donald Trump, and he had already shown that he was willing to lie and spread conspiracy theories and so on. And then when he was installed in January 2017, he claimed that he had the biggest audience ever, which was not true, and it was shown to be not true. And then his spokesperson, Kellyanne Conway, went out and said that the president is presenting alternative facts. And I thought that was a very silly and dangerous, potentially dangerous claim, talking about alternative facts, because there are no alternative facts. And then I decided, because I was a philosopher and I had worked with questions having to do with knowledge and facts and truth, I decided to write my book. So I wrote it during the spring of 2017.
Okay. And how long did it take you to finish your book?
I actually wrote that very fast because I was very upset. I wrote it in 3-4 months, I think. I was done by the summer. You know, I had worked on the theory of knowledge for a long time as a professor in philosophy, so I knew the topic.
But it is your first book, right? Like I haven't.
Yeah, it's my first popular book. Other than that, I've only been publishing research papers and my dissertation, of course. I never thought I would write a popular book. My focus was on being a researcher. But when the world took a turn for the worse when it came to knowledge and the sort of epistemic crisis we are in, I thought that as a philosopher working on knowledge, I had something to contribute. And that's why I decided to write popular books as well.
And how were the reaction to your book?
Well, it was very well received in Sweden, and I think it came out at a very good time. In 2017, we had just started worrying about these issues. And then as the years went by, the problems got worse and worse. And the challenges of disinformation and the spread of disinformation on social media and the consequences for democracy and for science and climate change and things were just becoming very clear. So I was early writing about this, and therefore I think my book had a big impact. And now, of course, it's even worse than it was before, because now we're going to have AI that can assist creating this information in fast and cheap, and also make it almost impossible to expose. So I think the challenges now that we're facing now are bigger than they ever were. So my book keeps being of relevance, as it were, even more so now than when I first wrote it.
Okay. And in your book, you didn't mention family as one of the fact-providing sources. But in Vietnam, family is very important and influential source. The children always take their parent and relative advice to make decisions, even after they have children of their own. So is this similar to Sweden or not?
I mean, I don't know, because I don't know enough about Vietnam. But of course, in Sweden too, the family is a very important source of knowledge. I mean, that's, I think, true in all cultures, because the family is your first source of knowledge. Before you even have a language, before you can read, you get knowledge through your family, right? And the kind of knowledge you get, of course, is a mix of things. You get knowledge about your about your culture and its traditions. That comes through family. You learn a language through family, largely. You read your first storybooks with your parents. And of course, they will teach you sort of basic life skills that you need, how to manage in social settings and in school and so on. So I think in every culture, family is tremendously important, especially when it comes to issues having to do with values, right? Thinking about, how one should live and relate to the tradition that one is in. But I think so that's true in all countries. Maybe family has a greater influence in countries that are more, let's say, traditional in their ways than your typical liberal Western democracy, where there's a lot of individualism and the idea that you break free and create your own life. So that's possible difference. But I don't think fundamentally it is that different from country to country, because without the family, you can't even take those first steps into a culture and into a world of knowledge that exists outside of the family. And of course, then what the family can teach you also is somewhat limited in some ways, right? If you want knowledge about, say, science and societal change and things like that, you need to look beyond the family. You need to have access to reliable media and reliable research. So the family will be a foundation in every culture, but it only goes so far.